Interesting new article today says President Trump is making good on his promises to drain the swamp and cut Obama-era holdovers from his staffs. President Trump has now scrubbed over 70 Obama holdovers from the National Security Council. Meanwhile, the Democrat Party meltdown escalates further as Nancy Pelosi, along with Adam Schiff and Chuck Schumer, are claiming that President Trump is retaliating against impeachment witnesses. This, of course, comes after Friday's news that impeachment witness Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman and his twin brother were abruptly fired and escorted by security from the White House as part of what the media is calling President Trump's payback. Nancy Pelosi threw another tantrum soon after she learned that Vindman was fired. She said, quote, "President Trump is impeached forever. The shameful firing of Colonel Vindman was a clear and brazen act of retaliation that showcases the president's fear of the truth." Today, in the Democrats' latest act of desperation, Chuck Schumer is demanding inspectors general investigate President Trump for instances of retaliation against whistleblowers. Schumer began by citing the Trump administration's decision to fire Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman on February 7th after he was a star witness amid the president's impeachment trial, sent this letter to the 74 inspectors general today demanding that they investigate President Donald Trump for instances of retaliation against any and all whistleblowers. Chuck Schumer's letter opens saying, "I write in response to retaliation against Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman and whistleblowers like him following their testimony before Congress regarding the president's efforts to solicit foreign interference in our 2020 elections." Schumer then claims, quote, "These attacks are part of a dangerous, growing pattern of retaliation against those who report wrongdoing, only to find themselves targeted by the president and subject to his wrath and vindictiveness. They also include attempts to publicly identify the anonymous whistleblower who used the proper legal channels to initially report the president's attempts to compromise our national security for his personal benefit. Not only is the retaliation against Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, the anonymous whistleblower, and others like them shameful, it is also illegal. For decades, Republicans and Democrats have worked in a bipartisan manner to protect whistleblowers and encourage federal employees to report wrongdoing, mismanagement, and corruption." Schumer's letter closes off saying, "Regrettably, these rights are now being challenged like never before, creating a chilling effect among those who, in previous administrations, may have come forward to expose abuses of power. If this chilling effect persists, it will inhibit our ability to hold public officials and institutions accountable." So Chuck Schumer now sending this letter demanding more investigations against President Trump. Another predictable move from the Democrats given the panicked response from Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, and others to Vindman's firing over the past few days. Further emphasizing how this ties in with these other big steps being taken by President Trump's administration recently, while the Democrats openly rage over Vindman's firing, it seems like the same establishment Democrats don't want to admit exactly how nervous they are about these big changes at the NSC. It's been continuing updates over the past few months on President Trump taking major steps to remove Obama's lingering influence at the National Security Council. The Washington Times had reported how this followed leaks of President Trump's conversations with foreign leaders and other damaging disclosures likely originating with anti-Trump officials in the White House who stayed over from the Obama administration. By January, they reported that over 40 Obama holdovers had been cut from the NSC. This number has now been updated to 70 Obama-era holdovers cut from the National Security Council. Obama-era NSC officials are suspected of leaking classified details of President Trump's phone conversations with foreign counterparts, including conversations with the leaders of Mexico and Australia, while the second-hand whistleblower at the heart of President Trump's impeachment was widely reported to be an NSC staffer on detail from the CIA who worked with Joe Biden. NSC official Tim Morrison, meanwhile, testified that Vindman was suspected of leaking sensitive information to the press, a claim that Vindman denied. The New York Times, among the mainstream media outlets already freaking out over this, says that Vindman's firing is a part of President Trump's bigger plan, claiming that this signals the Trumpification of the National Security Council. Interesting that the same media outlets had no problem when, under Obama, the NSC ballooned to as many as 450 people and officials wielded enormous power, directly telephoning commanders in Afghanistan and other locations in the Middle East to give them direct orders in violation of the military's strict chain of command. Zero Hedge article from last month also adds that after O'Brien is done, less than 120 policy officials will remain. Mr. O'Brien also noted that the NSC had a policy-making staff of just 12 people in 1962 when President Kennedy faced down the Soviet Union during the Cuban Missile Crisis. During the 2000s, under the Bush administration, the number of NSC staff members increased sharply. However, it was during the Obama administration that the NSC was transformed into a major policy-making agency seeking to duplicate the functions of the State and Defense Departments within the White House. The NSC staff became bloated during the prior administration, said O'Brien. The NSC is a coordinating body. I am trying to get us back to a lean and efficient staff that can get the job done, can coordinate with our interagency partners, and make sure the president receives the best advice he needs to make the decisions necessary to keep the American people safe. This further highlights the ongoing double standard in the mainstream media. The New York Times had no problem with the National Security Council being completely out of control under Obama. Meanwhile, many of these same NSC officials have been targeting President Trump since his election, and the New York Times somehow is angry at President Trump for taking actions to address this problem. Many of these officials were loners from other agencies and have been sent back. Others left government work. The NSC's Senior Director for Strategic Communications said, quote, "This month we will complete the right-sizing goal Ambassador O'Brien outlined in October, and in fact may exceed that target by drawing down even more positions." So we have seen a very angry reaction from Democrats like Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Chuck Schumer, and others over Vindman's firing. Just how worried are they about these changes at the NSC as well? And will the Democrats try any other tactics going forward? Chuck Schumer sending off this letter calling for more investigations against President Trump. House Intelligence Committee ranking member, Republican Devin Nunes, now warning that Democrats may be concocting a new hoax to try stopping President Trump. Nunes reacted on Monday to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, leaving the door open for more investigations into President Trump despite his acquittal in his House Senate impeachment trial last week, saying, quote, "I'm not sure that they, the Democrats, actually know how to do anything else." He then said they've done nothing else for their entire time that they've controlled Congress. And don't forget, the Democrats on the Intelligence Committee started this right after Trump was elected, so that's going over 3 years. He then added, quote, "They may concoct a new hoax. I'm not sure that the American people will believe it, but you can be sure of one thing: the mainstream media will support whatever narrative it is that they want to build." Leave a comment and please tell me what you think. If you could give this video a thumbs up, click the like button, that's greatly appreciated, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Also, down in the video description are links to my Patreon or PayPal accounts where you can support this channel directly. Even a few dollars makes a huge difference, helps me keep talking about these issues. Patreon.com/realityreader or paypal.me/realityreader. Both links down below. Thanks again, everybody that's been sharing these videos and sharing the channel to help get the info out there. I'll follow up soon. Thanks again.